Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing.
Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 541 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I hope this episode finds you happy and healthy. So much of our happiness comes from how we look at things, right? So if you start to notice if your general go-to is to be negative or to look for what's wrong, you may just have never trained yourself to look for what's good and what's positive. I mean, it may come a little more naturally to some people, but it's possible for all of us to train ourselves to be more positive, which will significantly increase our happiness. And who doesn't want that? All right, so how many of you have ever bought a new iPhone, maybe the latest iPhone with all this cool technology, but then used it exactly like you did the last one? Or maybe you got a new haircut, but ended up styling it exactly like you always do anyway. I was listening to a podcast recently, and it was a comedian, but he said something really insightful. He said, "Nothing changes if nothing changes." And if you just hear that at face value, you think, well, duh. But if you think about it in a little deeper way, it means more than just surface level things. Because you can change your hairstyle. You can change what you eat for a few days. You can even get a new husband. But if you want lasting change, it has to be conscious and it has to come from within. Because you and I both know you're going to fix your hair the same way eventually because you have a routine. So you hold the blow dryer the same way. You use the curling iron or the flat iron the same way. And you can force yourself to eat a green smoothie for a few days, but eventually your old eating habits will creep back in. It's a little harder to go back to the old husband, but most of the time the new one has some of the same things the old one did because we attract what we put out. And humans are human. If you treat someone a certain way, they'll respond in a certain way. If you allow someone to treat you in a certain way, that's how they'll treat you. So you can change people, but you can't change people. The point is, lasting change has to come from within. And most of us have a very certain set of thoughts and rules that we live by day in and day out. And they're really routine. And a lot of them we're not even conscious of. So you just do it without even thinking about it. And when you want to change, it's hard because our habits become so routine, so easy that doing anything different takes work and it takes consciousness and it takes discipline. And why would you do all that when you have easy ride on autopilot without any effort? Well, I'm going to tell you why. It's because we weren't built to live on autopilot. Most of us live there because we live there as adults acting as if we don't have to learn anymore. We know everything already. We know everything we need to know. College is done. We have the knowledge we're going to have. Now we just need to play it safe so we don't lose what we have or we don't break anything or, God forbid, we fail at something new. And we go around and we sing along to songs like Chris Stapleton's song where he says, "Nobody wins afraid of losing, and the hard roads are the ones worth choosing." We sing along to those songs and we feel good singing them, and then we stay right in our same little groove because it's safe. And somewhere in the back of our minds, we think, well, maybe someone will swoop in and change things for us. But that isn't how the world works. That's how a mind on autopilot works. But a mind on autopilot will always do the safe, agreed upon route. Now, I'm right there with you. When I did the meditation I talked about in episode 540, where I realized that my husband changed the batteries in my clock for 15 years without me ever noticing it, where was I in that scenario? Like, in a way, I was on autopilot in my own little world. That had a profound effect on me. I realized that I tell myself that, I'm just like my dad. He doesn't notice things either. But that's kind of a cop-out, isn't it? As an adult, do I want to be just like my dad? I mean, I love him dearly, but I want to notice things. I want to be more conscious than not. That's something I control. And I know this to be true because when I had that awareness during my meditation, I decided right then I will be more aware. But that wasn't my experience my entire adult life. So it's going to take some intentionality and a lot of it to change. So recently, I did get the new iPhone 16 Pro because my iPhone was so old that Apple no longer carried accessories for it, which really made my little sister Molly laugh. But who's laughing now with the latest and greatest, right? But the only thing is, left to my own devices, she probably would get the last laugh, because if I'm not careful and conscious and intentional, I'm going to use this new phone exactly like my old one. Never taking the time to learn all the cool new things it does. Not taking advantage of the amazing tools right at my fingertips because, well, it's good enough. But when did good enough become my status quo? I don't want good enough. None of us were born for good enough. But only some of us reach past good enough because comfort and ease are a drug that only we can pull ourselves away from. And we have taught ourselves to fear the unknown and to hate the discomfort so that we just kind of hang out in good enough. Well, that's not going to do it for me. That's not good enough. I have a class at Apple on Monday at 11 o'clock actually to learn my new iPhone tools. Those tools are not going to be wasted on me, not anymore. You see, the part of us that's our awareness, that's our consciousness, that's the part that's connected to God or the universe, whatever you believe it to be. That's where flow happens. That's where ease happens. How often during the day are you allowing yourself to connect to that? What percentage of the day do you spend in awareness, and what percentage do you spend on autopilot? I'll start. If I'm being honest, during meditation, for sure, I'm in awareness, and maybe a couple of times during the day and a few moments at night. So if I sleep 8 hours, that leaves 16 hours awake. So maybe 1 to 1.5 hours during the day do I spend completely aware of my thoughts and the decisions that I'm making that affect my life. Now, on podcast days, that goes up. It has to, or I'd never get them done. But there are things that I want to do that I haven't done. Why? Well, it's because I haven't done the conscious work needed to be done in order to do them. So, for instance, I want new planters for my front porch. I have to measure at home so that when I'm out looking, I know what size is best. So for a couple of weeks, I drove by the nursery thinking, dang, I still haven't measured. I almost bought a couple the other day without doing the conscious work, and they wouldn't have been right. But now I've measured and I know exactly what I can do that's going to look best, because I realize it's no one else's fault but mine that I don't have the planters that I want. So what do I need to do to get it? That's the question we ought to be asking. What do I need to do? Full stop. I'm starting to realize that I want to be more connected to this consciousness more time of the day. It doesn't mean that that's going to make me less connected to the people I love. It actually means I'll be more connected because I'm not stuck in my own little closed off world, and I'm not staying in my well-worn path afraid to venture off in case I can't find my way back. I actually know that whatever path I'm on is what is meant for me, and the people that are meant to be in my life will always be. I don't have to worry about that at all. That feels right. And when it feels right, it usually is. That's the power of awareness. You have a gut feeling, and when you go with the gut feeling, you're generally right. And when you ignore that gut feeling, or worse, when you can't even hear it, that's when your life feels off or boring, or maybe you feel stuck. It's not about changing things. It's about changing things. There's a big difference. My challenge to you is to ask yourself how often you feel connected to your higher power. How often are you living with intention versus on autopilot? Be honest. The you that's always connected to the higher power already knows the answer and is really excited you're asking it because it wants to be more active too. And we do that through meditation, through nature walks without our AirPods, sitting quietly, staying aware of our thoughts. There are lots of ways. These are just the ones I've tried and they work for me. Share this with 3 people who you feel are important in your life. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days.
Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.